So the last couple of years, Adamec Performance Garage, we've actually been building a few floor bikes to kind of put out on our sales floor and kind of show what we're capable of doing. The past 2 years, we've kept it kind of basic, you know, your typical upgrades. Dave and I talked a lot after building last year's about taking this year's build kind of to the next level and doing something a little different. So we decided to kind of go out of the norm or out of the box that you would see at a typical dealership standpoint. Knowing we had a budget, obviously, to work with, we spent a lot of time, probably about 4 or 5 months ahead of time, kind of planning what we wanted to do, you know, what key things we wanted to pay attention to in the build and what we wanted to highlight and what we wanted to do to kind of make it stand out. Adamec was actually established in 1931. They were a family out of New Jersey whose now grandfather opened up the shop in his early 20s. And they ended up actually picking up shop from New Jersey and moving down here in 1962 and establishing a dealer in the north side of Jacksonville. And then as they progressed, they opened up a couple more dealers around the city. And now we own 3 Harley licensed dealers and then 1 like satellite store that we just do like all sorts of motorcycle stuff too. Yeah, so my name's Brent Focht. It's spelled F-O-U-C-H-T, but I've corrected everybody my whole life on the pronunciation of that, but I'm used to it by now. I've been, again, with Adamec for 11 years now. Started off as a normal, just parts counter guy. I actually went to MMI, graduated MMI, thought I was going to be a technician, looked for a job back here in Jacksonville where I was born and raised. And when I came back, there was no positions available as a tech, so I took the next best thing, which was the parts counter. A couple of years into the parts counter, I realized that I probably didn't want to be a tech for several reasons. So I decided to just stick with parts and kind of make it grow. And over the years, I got the opportunity to kind of move up. We had another store open, and I moved up to kind of the lead role here. And I knew that I wanted to take that role in the performance garage, as we call it, or the Adamec Performance Garage, kind of to the next level. And we've always done motor work, you know, exhaust, air cleaners, dyno tuning, that sort of thing. But I've known for a long time from friends who ride and things like that, not just Harleys, that performance has always been kind of a passion of mine. And I wanted to take it past just your typical motor build and take it more into like paying attention to suspension and brakes and overall chassis and handling of things. And that's when I did get the opportunity to move over to our Adamec Performance Garage counter. I started calling vendors that I was familiar with and that I wanted to sell and offering our customers and clientele the type of product other than just Harley that really brings out the potentials of any bike, more or less Harleys, but any model of Harley. So the performance side of Adamec, which we call Adamec Performance Garage, has kind of always been a little bit of a thing that we've floated around with, but it really started to build up big probably 2-3 years ago when we started seeing more of the performance bagger and Dyna builds and things like that really catch on. And we knew that we had not only a niche to kind of direct attention to, but a lot of the employees here also ride and also appreciate that type of build or that type of bike. So we knew that we wanted to take it the next step and kind of create something that a lot of dealers don't have. Actually, probably a vast majority of dealers don't have. And we knew that we wanted to kind of stand out from the rest in offering parts that you don't commonly walk into a dealership and see, be able to do builds and things that you normally don't see come out of a dealership. So this is our 2023 Road Glide Special we nicknamed Ruby. We kind of had, this was like an idea both Dave and I had last year after our 22 Road Glide build. We know we wanted to do something a little bit different, something that doesn't appeal to the typical powder coat, everything black aspect, and do something that stood out. But we also wanted to focus really hard on cleanliness and not overemphasize one product or another, but at the same time kind of use chrome, as you can see, kind of as the focus point on this bike. Believe it or not, doing chrome on a bagger, especially a performance bagger, can be definitely a tricky task at times. But we wanted to really emphasize kind of on the racier side of things, especially with all the King of the Baggers and Bagger Racing League and all that being out now. We wanted to highlight race product or product that you may see on a more track-ready bike. One of the biggest ones we knew we wanted to do right out the gate was the DTF carbon front fender. Give it more of that sport bike look, but paint it so that the carbon wasn't a highlight, because it's not really the look we were going for on this build. Other things were just, again, cleanliness, making sure that every little aspect was covered, keeping obviously our budget in mind. A lot of guys have the ability to build a bike with really no budget or no threshold of how much can be spent. From a dealership standpoint, the downfall is we have management who, within their right, has a budget for us, because at the end of the day, this is a bike that we did need to sell. So being that in mind, it was definitely a difficult task to build a bike that stood out from the rest, or wasn't just your typical bolt-on parts in a sense. The biggest thing, though, is we did want to highlight is product that we also sell and that we install on a regular basis, and product that we not only believe in, but we know works well with the bike and what we can offer as a store and Adamec Performance Garage. So this is actually a factory 2022 and 2023 color, Redline Red. So it's a factory Harley color. Which we knew we kind of wanted to play along those lines of keeping it, again, simple and clean, no fancy paint job, just true to its Harley roots, and kind of stick with something that on a long run could possibly be a factory bike, or at least something you would see from the factory in an extent. So we definitely emphasize on sticking with the Redline Red. We actually had a local painter do the inner fairing, all the vents, all the extra add-ons that we put on here, including the carbon fender that I spoke about. We had the tank sent off to Cornstalk Customs, where he knee-notched the tank for us. He got it back in record time, too. It was awesome. He had it back to us in I think a week and a half. Sent that out to paint with all of our other product. We had the rear fender smoothed and kind of recessed to get rid of all the additional holes that are on a normal stock fender. Again, going back to keeping everything just clean and factory-esque, but in a better way. So we initially knew that we wanted to do, again, chrome. So one of the things we had to overcome was there's not a lot of suspension out there, especially performance suspension or triple trees and fork lowers and things of that nature that are chrome. So we decided to link up with Bitubo in regards to the cartridges and the rear shocks. We knew we wanted to use them. We have a really great relationship with Sean at Bytubo. We use them quite often as over-the-counter sales, and we do a lot of Bytubo suspension installs. So we wanted to use them. We wanted to kind of go to the next step, and Sean actually helped us out a lot with kind of custom tailoring it. We actually had the first set of 2-inch over fork cartridge kits from them, and we had the opportunity to install those. As far as I know, we were at least the first to put them on a bike. So we brought the front end up 2 inches. Again, keeping in mind that we don't know the end user, the end buyer. So we had to be cautious with suspension. We didn't want to go too tall for sake of the interested buyer being, 5'5" and not being able to ride a 2+ over front and rear bike. So we did the +2s because we could still alter them in the triple trees. With the trees and the lowers, we went with hog halters or HHI. They helped us out a lot because, again, we knew we wanted to go chrome and knew we wanted to go big brake. So they had a newer leg, their Dominator legs and their Dominator trees that allow for a 6-piston radial brake. So we went with their tree, their lower legs, just to kind of take advantage of the other offerings they had that formed nicely as a kit or as a set. So the front brakes, again, we decided to stick with hog halters or HHI. Fairly new product, again, from them. I think they released it in like late December or January in some time. It's a 6-piston, 108 millimeter radial caliper mount that actually mounts straight to their Dominator legs. Very similar to some of the other front ends or leg lowers that are coming out. They have a super clean method of mounting their fender and caliper. And again, they offered it in chrome, so we went that route. We combined it with Lindel's 13-inch rotors and the Jade affiliated wheels. We took a lot of time right at the beginning to kind of pick and select what wheel we wanted to go with. We knew we wanted something different that stood out, and we had seen Jade stuff in the past and decided to hit him up. So we actually became a vendor with Jade affiliated to get these wheels, but then offer, again, our customers the same type of product that we're installing. So we ended up installing the front caliper and brake setup. We did put a Lindel rotor in the back as well. We're still waiting on the HHI 6-piston caliper for the rear, which comes with its own proprietary caliper mount that works with either a factory or aftermarket swing arm. So we're excited to put that on the back, just to give the back an equal stopping power that the front has. The back, we also put a track dynamic swing arm on it. We decided to add a little splash of red to it and go with some lift spools as well. We've used track dynamic swing arms in the past. They fit really well. They work well in a really good price point. And then we knew that we obviously wanted to keep with the polished and or chrome look. A few items like the swing arm and other products you see on the bike didn't have a chrome offering, so going with the next best thing, doing like a polished or a raw. Another thing on the front end that we wanted to really focus on too that I haven't capped on yet was the cleanliness of the handlebar setup as well. We knew early on, because so many aftermarket companies offer like a digital or a gauge bezel or some sort to kind of obviously move the gauges, but we wanted to do something different. And we had gotten the idea from some of the other guys, honestly, where they were sticking their gauges up in the fairing and eliminating the radio altogether. But going back on being able to sell this bike as it is brand new to a potential buyer, we knew that we were limiting the potential buyer by getting rid of the radio or getting rid of other features on the bike. So about the time we were kind of planning this, Dave and I were talking about just eliminating the gauges altogether. And we had seen, I think, one other person do like a soft tail digital gauge, but there were some wiring issues with that and whatnot. And about that time is when we ran across the SoundStream radio. SoundStream radio that's on it actually acts as the gauges. So it has a feature that when you turn the bike on, you hit the home button, it flips the gauges. And there's an actual module in the back of the radio from a separate company, iData Maestro, that reads ECM data and distributes it or transfers it to the radio so that the actual radio has a dash on it with all the gauges that you would normally see on your gauges. So by eliminating gauges altogether, we cleaned up the dash. You're able to see the inside of the fairing and the neck and the trees and everything a whole lot more. There is a trick to getting it to work, and Dave and I did spend a lot of time figuring it out. And there were some software updates with the radio and getting it to work. And then there's some other tricks that we had to kind of throw in. And Dave spent actually a lot of time kind of finessing with different options or routes that we could take to get it to work how it does. Back kind of to the bars, Speed Kings helped us out a lot with this build. We were in constant contact with Dan at Speed Kings, and he really went full force with us on this. And we knew, again, we wanted to do something different, and we were familiar with the guys at Speed Kings and their setups that they've done on a few bikes. And we actually just asked what they had ran in the past, because we knew we wanted a riser and bar combo where, again, you could see the radio in its full force so that you can take advantage of the gauges that the radio offers. So we actually went with their chrome high bend bar and their Aniston riser. We kept it pretty low, again, so you could see the radio really well, but the total combination is about like 11 inches or so. So it's got a really good stance, some pullback, it's comfortable. But it's still functional at the same time. And it opens up the triple trees and allows you to see everything and keep things clean. We kind of tried to cap on everything on the bars too. Again, sticking with the chrome theme, we wanted to do chrome switch housing, chrome buttons, chrome master cylinder. And then we used Oberon or hog leverage, adjustable levers. We actually use those on a lot of builds here because they're fully functional. They kind of give you the adaptability to adjust the lever in or out or closer to the bar. But we haven't had any issues with their brand like some others. So we continue to sell theirs. We stock them. They got different color combinations you can get, so that's always nice. So we had a few splashes of red up on the bar. And then we used our Liness's mirrors. And we always use Spiegler brake lines. The guys at Spiegler have always been great to us, and they have the ability to fully custom order any length, any bend, any fitment as far as the banjo fittings go, multiple color options. And it's nice because on a build like this, we can measure the lines to as precise as possible and really dial in. With Spiegler, we order lines by the millimeter. So we converted to inches normally, but you can really tailor a line to get it really nice, tight fit, and then alter the ends to any application you have. So to touch more on the front brakes, we actually, again, decided to do something a little more race inspired, if you will, and did a single line from the ABS block up front. Two reasons for that. Not only being the race, if you will, look, but also to just keep less is more from coming from the back of the chassis up to the front end. So we did a single line down to the left caliper and then did a hooped line over the front fender over to the right caliper. We also added a steering stabilizer to this. It was kind of a last minute decision, honestly. Like we were looking for a few more things to kind of give it that race vibe. Without going overboard. And we've had a few customers in the past when they do bigger motors or they ride a little heavier, have concerns about things of that nature. So we decided to kind of address it and kill two birds with one stone, kind of do partially looks, but at the same time address any sort of wobble that guys get when they're riding heavier. We actually found this in our hard drive catalog. It's a company called Daytona. Fitment, we definitely had to play around the fitment. Dave had to take it off probably 4 or 5 times to kind of play with the fitment and it clearing the engine and the motor mount and things of that nature. But just one of many things we had to overcome. Another key component we went with on this bike to kind of make it, again, more race inspired, if you will, was the hog halters mid controls. Again, a fairly new product from them when we did the build. I can't say anything bad about these mid controls. They're like a piece of jewelry. We honestly refer to them, I think, multiple times while we were doing it as a piece of jewelry on this bike. So function, looks, can't go wrong with them. Just the way they're engineered and how they mount to the bike. And then on the opposing side of the bike, how the rear master cylinder is built into the trans cover and all that. Just really clean, well thought out, awesome product. And then we, of course, had to hit up Pete Dregs with the derby cover, which luckily he caught my mistake and told him I was doing an HHI mid-control because the derby covers actually flipped to 180 degrees. So he caught that and shot us one pretty quick, just in time to wrap up the bike. Right behind him are some Speed Kings pegs that we put for the passenger setup. They're actually, to my knowledge, Dan could correct me, but I think the first set off of their new machine that they're doing now in-house. So all their in-house production, we were lucky enough to get one of the first pieces off that machine. And then again, keeping with the whole like polished and chrome, going a little further back, we actually powder coated, believe it or not, the saddlebag rails. Saddlebag rails, we worked with a local powder coater and tried to find something as close to chrome as possible. Again, going back to having to meet a deadline and a budget and all that stuff, Dave can attest, it was hard to go over this bike and constantly touch it and work on it and see like, oh, we got to do this, or oh, we got to do this, or we can't leave this piece undone, this looks bad. And we jokingly had to like laugh and stop it ourselves a lot because the build just continued to kind of grow and we had to step back and really pick out what was important and what was going to stand out. And then at the same time, leave some room for the potential buyer to kind of build off of it and maybe add their own touch to it once it's theirs. So on the actual engine performance aspect of it, touching back on kind of leaving it up to the customer. With the mid controls, we were obviously a little limited on what exhaust manufacturer, what exhaust period we could use with the HHI mids. So we hit up SPB Fab, again, another company that at the time we weren't a vendor with, but I set up an account with them. We got that exhaust on order as well as some stock order coming from them and got here just in the nick of time to slap it on, kind of get it done right before our March event that we had. The air cleaner is, again, a fairly new product from Fueling. It's their race series air cleaner. We wanted to go with the taller one, again, to kind of address the race aspect of the bike, but take advantage of having mid controls, whereas most customers or riders would complain about the leg spacing of an air cleaner. With these mid controls, that's obviously not an issue. So we wanted to go full boat on that. With the motor, we kind of left it stock. It's just a stock 114 with an exhaust and air cleaner. Again, leaving that window of opportunity open to the new buyer, whether they want to just throw a cam in it or slap a big bore or something of that nature in it.
Hey guys, want to take a quick break from the interview to talk about one of our sponsors today, ThunderMax. Had the chance to work with these guys the last year or two, have nothing but great things to say about them and their parts. Today specifically, I want to talk about their performance ECM tuner. We don't mention this very often, mainly because it's hidden under the seat. But if you're building a performance Harley motor, this is the way to go. The ThunderMax tuners are a super easy install, just directly replaces your factory ECM. There's no wire cutting, it just plugs directly in. So when you do that first upgrade that most of us do for our Harley, which is an exhaust and an air cleaner, you don't have to go to a dealer and pay for a tune or a license for a tuner. Just buy one of these, install it with your pipe, upload a base map, and go for a ride. It'll do all the work for you. It has 2 wideband O2 sensors. They're gonna constantly detect your air-fuel ratio, so it does everything. Big thing I like about these, 6 months to a year down the road, if you're like most of us, you're going to do another upgrade, whether that's a cam chest kit or whatever motor work you want to do. This is still good. It works for the life of your bike. Upload a new base map, go for a ride. These things are fully adjustable. You can still take it to somebody to do a professional tune if you want. If you're interested in one of their tuners, I'm going to drop their website link as well as all their socials in the description below so you can check them out. I'd also highly recommend their YouTube channel. They've got installs, they talk about base map selection and upload, all that kind of deal. If you're looking for a performance upgrade for your motor, this is the way to go.
Yeah, so addressing on the lighting of the bike, again, going back to wanting to make sure everything's just clean and simple and functional, especially in the back, I knew pretty early on that I wanted to, again, do something different. Everybody tends to go the filler lights route, which we've done, don't get me wrong, a ton of those for customers. But we were also accenting the Bitubo rear shocks, which I had them custom do some chrome springs on. So I knew I wanted to keep the fillers open so that the viewer could see the chrome springs and keep with the chrome theme. So we had to think of an alternative solution for rear lighting. And I had seen, I think it was someone in Thailand, I could be wrong because their bike scene has been blowing up. I think someone in Thailand had done the old parts and accessory saddlebag lid spoilers. And I saw that and I was like, that's it. I stole someone's idea. That is it. And that's the only lighting we did on the back. So they're actually parts and accessories out of the Harley parts and accessory catalog. Ordered them, got them in, had them painted redline red, and just keeps their back really clean. I will say they're probably not the brightest, most functional lights. So there's always, again, that opportunity for the customer to add more lighting in the back if that's their concern. As far as the front end goes, the turn signals we went with are tried and true custom dynamics bullet replacements. Just kind of narrows the bike, brings the turn signal stems off and keeps everything tight into the chassis. The front, we rocked clean. CleanMoto has always been awesome with us. We actually worked really tight with them when the new ST released, and we kind of did some behind the scenes stuff with them on that. And they've came out to our event. So we knew we wanted to stick with CleanMoto stuff and the rigid lights that they offer. We went a step further. We asked for a raw filler panel from them and then had a local place polish it for us. So it's got a chrome filler, and then we had the gussets or C-shaped pieces on the sides, paint matched. While we were in there and had the fairing off, we not only did a Clockworks windshield, but we also went with the Clockworks vent screens and the screen down on the lower oil cooler just to, again, add a few more splashes of chrome where we could. So the crash bar up front is actually from Santoro Fabworks. We've been a longtime dealer with them, I believe probably 4 or 5 years at this point. Again, another awesome relationship with an aftermarket company who always pulls through with us, and I can't say anything bad about the guys at Santoro. They always deliver an awesome product and always take care of us. So we went their bar. We did do a little bit of a custom end cap on it, again, to add another flash of chrome and red to the bike. And then as far as the motor, to dress up the engine, we used a company, Diamond Engineering, and did all of their 12-point hardware on the whole engine, and then a few select places around the chassis and frame and the engine mounts and things of that nature. A lot of guys lately have been replacing all their engine hardware and stuff with ARP. I've been in the industry a decently long time, and Diamond Engineering was around when, guys were dressing up their early 2000s Softails and chroming everything out. We've used them quite a bit. I like that they're polished stainless steel. They're not going to rust, that sort of thing. As far as other like little cosmetic stuff, we actually had these custom A tank badges made from Rebus Customs, who makes almost everybody's tank emblems now, it seems. So we hit them up. We've done their chrome and their black, like bar and shield tank badges in the past. But I hit them up and I was like, hey, do you think you can make something like this? And it was a little bit of a curve because the wings on our A are separate from the actual body of the A. And so we weren't sure if we were gonna separate all of the pieces and try and stick them together, but he did an awesome job of keeping it one consistent emblem. And again, we use him quite a bit on a lot of builds. We've got another bike in the shop right now he's helping us with. So, see, we're a huge Saddleman dealer. We do a ton of Saddlemans. I probably stock anywhere from 20 to 25 step-up seats of some make or model or whatnot in the back at all times, and we do a lot of custom seat orders. So I wanted to stick with Saddleman as we have a great relationship with them. But they were nice enough to let us do their custom stitch program and then add our A logo to the back passenger section. Again, with function, we kind of went with the gripper back to keep the rider engaged in the seat and then give it a little bit of flash of red. Yeah, so after this sold, which was funny, we were talking with you guys and planning this whole interview and whatnot, and about a week after we had talked, it sold, and it sold pretty fast for the value that's in it. So we had to kind of reconfigure. So fortunately, the new customer was cool enough with letting us get it back in here so we could do this. And then we got the customer's bike back in here and he decided to add a few things while it's here. So that should be fun. But being that we are now done with this, we're constantly poking at customers' bikes, whether it be something small as just a handlebar job or something larger. We've actually got something we're really excited about we're working on right now, which is a new Lowrider ST Fast Johnny that will be hopefully wrapping up here in the next week or two, just pending a couple more parts coming from the West Coast. But once we get that in, we should have that wrapped up. You guys are always more than welcome to reach out to us on our Instagram. If you do reach out, I'm always one on there. It's adamec.performance.garage. And we try to post fairly regularly, just on our daily life here in the shop and in the dealership. And then a couple fun things every day, whether it's Dave working on a bike or something in the room. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for tuning in and checking out our 23 Road Glide build. If you guys are ever in the Jacksonville, Florida area, feel free to swing by Adamec Performance Garage. We can give you a tour, take you in the back, let you check out what we've got going on, and hit us up if you're ever in need for any parts. We've got tons of inventory, lots of different vendors that we try to stock and keep in-house. So Adamec Performance Garage, we've actually been doing... That's
a great start. Fuck that. So I told John,